Sociedade Esportiva Palmeiras is a Brazilian football club from São Paulo. The club was founded on August 26, 1914, as Palestra Italia, but changed to the current name on September 14, 1942. It is one of the most popular and successful Brazilian clubs, with around 17 million supporters, including a large number of Brazilians of Italian ancestry. Despite being primarily an association football team, Palmeiras competes in a number of different sports, most notably basketball. The football team plays in the Campeonato Paulista, the state of São Paulo's Premier State League, as well as in the Campeonato Brasileiro Série A, the top tier of the Brazilian football league system. Palmeiras is one of the most successful clubs in Brazilian football. The team has won 12 national competitions, more than any other club in Brazil. The club's most important titles are 1 Copa Libertadores, 8 National League titles and 4 national cups. In 1951, Palmeiras won the International Copa Rio, known as the first Club World Association football tournament, after beating Juventus of Italy. In 1999, the team was declared the champion of the century in Brazilian football history. Foundation and name: Palmeiras was founded on August 26, 1914, initially as Sociedade Esportiva Palestra Italia, by Luigi Servo, Vincenzo Ragognetti, Luigi Emanuele Marzo and Ezequiel Simone, 4 Italian men who were members of the Italian community of São Paulo. Its original colors were red, white and green. During the World War II, Brazil entered the war supporting the Allies, and its dictatorship along with the Brazilian Expeditionary Force forced Palestra Italia to change its name because of the reference to Italy. The original badge is still present in the current one, and the club has used red as a third color. Palestra is born opening game. At the beginning of the 20th century, several young Italians decided to start a club whose main goal was to form a football team that would be representative of the Italian community, and face the big names of São Paulo's football elite. Just over 3 decades earlier, Italy had been unified, a fact that was not known to some Italian Brazilians and to some non-Italian Brazilians. There were numerous Italian clubs, but each one represented an Italian province or was geared to activities other than football. At the time, the game was starting to take hold and drew many players and fans. The founders of the club sought out the Fanfolha newspaper, which was the media mouthpiece that defended the interests of Italians in Brazil, and entrusted young Vincenzo Ragognetti, another supporter of the idea, to draft an invitation to those interested in forming a sports club. After several meetings, 46 interested individuals gathered at the Alhambra room on what is now Rua do Riachuelo, and founded a sports club for all Italian Brazilians named Palestra Italia. Ezequiel Simone was named club president. The Italian consulate in São Paulo became interested in the new club because it would help spread the word among Italians that their country now had one flag and one anthem. After some initial difficulties, Palestra Italia played its first game in the town of Votorantim, beating Savoy 2-0 with goals from Bianco and Allegretti to win the Savoy Cup. 1920–1930 first title and purchase of the stadium in 1916. The team joined the city's main sports league and held its first official championship match. The following year it would be runner-up in the São Paulo State Championship, facing Corinthians for the first time. Palestra won that initial game 3-0 with 3 goals from Catano. It also won the rematch 3-1 of what would become the team's chief rivalry. In 1920, Palestra Italia captured the São Paulo State Championship with a victory over the rugged Paulistano squad in the deciding match. Palestra continued to grow as a sports ex-club and also began acquiring more assets. Stadio Palestra Italia, purchased in 1920, was remodeled and expanded in 1933 when it became the first Brazilian stadium with concrete grandstands and barbed wire fences. Starting in 1964, the playing field would be suspended, which gave fans a complete, broad view and also created space in the lower levels. The club continued to grow and won more championships, and at the outset of the 1930s became the three-time São Paulo state football and basketball champion, a feat which prompted Palestra fans to chant in celebration, with the feet or with the hands, "Palestra is the best in the land." A leader dies, a champion is born in 1942 during World War II. The government of President Getulio Vargas made a decree banning any organization from using names related to the Axis powers. Palestra Italia was compelled to change its name, and became Palestra São Paulo. Palestra is a Greek word that did not violate the government measure. However, the change did not soothe political and sporting pressures. Under penalty of forfeiting all its assets to another club and facing ejection from the championship that it currently led, Palestra was forced to change its name a second time. The night before the last game of the state championship, scheduled for the 20th of September 1942, the Palestra Board of Directors held a heated meeting and changed the club's name. When the debate reached its peak, Mario Minervino took the floor and asked club secretary, Dr. Pascal W. Byron Giuliano, to note in the minutes, "They don't want us to be Palestra, so then we shall be Palmeiras, born to be champions." Tensions flared during the final league match, where Palmeiras' opponent was São Paulo Futebol Clube, which was laying claim to the assets of the former Palestra Italia. Palmeiras took the field carrying the Brazilian flag under the leadership of Army captain Adalberto Mendes. Palmeiras was leading the score by 3-1 when a penalty was called in its favor. At that moment, the SPFC ordered its players to consider the Palmeiras squad an enemy of the homeland and pulled its side off the field amid jeers from even the club's own fans. The celebrations began on the spot. The next day, newspapers contained a photograph of Palmeiras entering the field with the headline, "A leader dies, a champion is born." First world champion 1951 and January 1951. The Brazilian sports newspaper O Globo Esportivo ran a lead story reporting that FIFA President Jules Rimet would grant unconditional support to holding a World Club Championship in Rio de Janeiro. The first Rio Cup was held in 1951, with the participation of 8 squads, divided into 2 brackets of 4 teams apiece. The Vasco da Gama, Austria Vienna, National, and Sporting Lisbon, playing in Rio, and Palmeiras, Juventus, Red Star, and Olympique playing in São Paulo. Clubs such as Malmö, Rapid Vienna, Austria Vienna, Tottenham among others were invited to participate in the tournament but not interested. FIFA acknowledged in 2000 and declared in 2007 that Sociedade Esportiva Palmeiras is the first team to be world champion among clubs. The zeal to compete in this contest was such that the Uruguayan Football Association issued a directive signed by all First Division team bosses on June 15, 1951, suspending its national championship from June 25 to July 27, so that a sufficiently strong national team could represent the 1950 World Cup champs. Palmeiras and Juventus played in the final, held over 2 matches. Palmeiras managed to win one game and tied the other to win the Rio Cup. The Academy, the Brazilian giant in the 1960s, the standard of quality of Palmeiras player, led by the one who would come to symbolize this period of football excellence. Ademir da Guia led the Palestra Italia team to be called the Academy of Brazilian Football. Headed by Filippo Nunes, Palmeiras players won the most important national competition in 1965, the Rio, São Paulo Championship, with standout performances. Blowouts against top rivals included 7 goals scored against Santos, 5 against Botafogo in the home stadium of Maracana, 5 against São Paulo, and another 4 scored against Vasco. The title came to Palmeiras in another lopsided victory against Botafogo at Pacaembu Stadium in São Paulo. The same year, the Brazilian Sports Federation used the entire Palmeiras roster to launch Mineirão Stadium and represent Brazil in an official national team match against Uruguay for the Inconfidência Cup. The day that it donned the green and white Palmeiras as Brazil was victorious 3-0 over the Uruguayan blue. In the previous year, Palmeiras had won the Rio de Janeiro Quadricentennial Cup by beating the Paraguayan national team 5-2 and besting Peñarol of Uruguay in the final. At the end of the 1970s, Palmeiras won the Copa do Brasil and the Roberto Gomes Pedrosa tournament, the Brazilian championship equivalent at the time. These victories laid the groundwork for the second Palmeiras Academy, with players like Luis Pereira, Livinha, Emerson Leo, Dudu and Ce Acute Sar. Led by Oswaldo Brando, the team captured several titles in the 1970s. It was 3-time São Paulo state champion, emerging undefeated in one of those tournaments, 2-time Brazilian champion, 3-time winner of Spain's Ramon de Carranza trophy, and winner of Argentina's Mar del Plata trophy, considered the South American Club Championship. 1980s, the lost decade. Accustomed to victories at the Academy in the 1960s and 1970s, Palmeiras fans saw the 1980s come and go without championships or titles. In 1986, Palmeiras fielded a good team, routing Corinthians chapters 5-1 and playing an historic game in the semi-finals of the São Paulo State Championship against the same rival, prevailing 3-0. The team had arrived at the final of the state championship 10 years after winning its last state title, but lost it to Inter de Limeira. On October 29, 1986, Palmeiras fans adopted the pig as the mascot. At a game against Santos, the rival fans were chanting "Pig." The Palmeiras crowd responded with "Come on, pig!" Come on, pig, ole, 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 and go pig. A few days later, Placar Sports magazine popularized the new nickname when it published an issue with Jorginho Putanati, the symbol of the generation, holding a pig in his lap. There were 2 noteworthy events during this decade. In the 1983 state championship against Santos, referee José de Assis Aragão scored a goal for Palmeiras in the 47th minute of the second half. Striker Jorginho kicked inside the penalty area. The ball was on its way out, but it hit Aragão, who was on the goal line about a meter from the goal, and went into the Santos net. The game ended in a 2-2 tie, much to the chagrin of Santos. The second unexpected event occurred on November 11, 1988, when striker Gaucho defended 2 penalties against Flamengo in a game for the Brazilian Championship at Maracana. Gaucho was put in goal after Kipizzetti broke a leg in the final minutes of the match. The game ended in a tie, and advanced to the penalty shootout phase. During the shootout, Gaucho stopped 2 shots from Alder and Zinho. To cap off the evening, he scored a penalty himself while wearing the goalkeeper's jersey. In 1989, Palmeiras had another chance to celebrate a title. Undefeated until the second-last match, the team was eliminated when it lost to Bragantino in the semi-finals of the São Paulo State Championship. The 1980s ended without significant victories, but the 1990s would make up for that. The end of the 20th century, the greatest in Brazil, Palmeiras found itself in a 16-year hiatus without any significant trophies until 1992, when the club signed a sponsorship deal with Italian dairy giant Parmalat. The deal lasted for 8 years and quickly turned Palmeiras into Brazil's richest club. In the 1990s, Palmeiras enjoyed countless achievements, winning numerous important titles. In the first full year of the relationship with Parmalat, the team won the Campeonato Paulista in 1993, beating its biggest rival Corinthians in the final. The same year, it also captured the Rio-São Paulo Championship as well as the Campeonato Brasileiro. The next year, it achieved the unprecedented feat of becoming 2-time state champion and 2-time Brazilian champion. In 1996, it handily won the Campeonato Paulista, scoring more than 100 goals. Palmeiras also won the Mercosul Cup and the Copa do Brasil, both in 1998, featuring players with tremendous technical prowess like Edmundo Evercinho, Rivaldo, Alex Marcos and César Sampaio. Palmeiras achieved victory at South America's premier competition, the Copa Libertadores de América in 1999, an accomplishment ranking among the biggest in the club's history. In 2000, it would also win the Brazilian Champions Cup, a tournament contested between Brazil's top-level clubs. Having won key national and international competitions, Palmeiras was proclaimed Brazilian football's best team of the 20th century of Brazil by the São Paulo State Football Federation. Newspapers Folha and Estado de São Paulo, and Placar magazine rankings. 1999 Libertadores Cup winners. Famous coach Luiz Felipe Scolari led the team to one of the club's most important titles, the 1999 Libertadores Cup. The final match was against Deportivo Cali from Colombia. Important players from the team were World Cup winners Marcos Zinho and Roque Jr., as well as Alex Ever, Paulo Nunes and César Sampaio. In the first leg, in Cali, Deportivo beat Palmeiras 1-0. In the second leg, at Estadio Palestra Italia, Palmeiras beat Deportivo 2-1 and won the competition in the penalty shootout. In the same year, in Tokyo, Palmeiras disputed Intercontinental Cup, but were defeated in the final by Manchester United of England. Therefore, the Palmeiras fans still dream of the greatest glory, a Club World Cup by FIFA. 2004 finals disputed. In 2000, Palmeiras disputed 4 final championship matches. At first, the team won the Rio-São Paulo tournament after beating Vasco da Gama in the final. In the first leg, in Rio de Janeiro, Palmeiras beat Vasco 2-1. In the second leg, at Morumbi Stadium, the club from São Paulo beat Vasco 4-0. The club again reached the Libertadores Cup final, this time against Boca Juniors from Argentina. In the first leg, in Buenos Aires, the game ended 2-2. In the second leg, at Morumbi Stadium, in São Paulo, the game ended 0-0 and Boca won the competition in the penalty shootout. In the same year, Palmeiras won the Brazilian Champions Cup after beating Sport Recife in the final. By the end of the year, the club again reached the Mercosul Cup final, losing to Vasco da Gama. The new millennium, Parmalat's sponsorship ended in 2000 and left the club in dire straits, after a mildly irregular season in 2001, with the biggest achievement being a Libertadores Cup semi-final against Boca Juniors. The club faced its worst year ever in 2002 and was relegated to the Campeonato Brasileiro Serie B, which it won in the following year, returning to the Serie A in 2004. The 2004 and 2005 seasons were rather successful when the team finished in the 4th position in both years, and qualified for the Libertadores Cup in 2005 and 2006. Unfortunately, Palmeiras was eliminated by rival São Paulo in the round of 16 in both years. In 2007, Palmeiras had its legend Edmundo playing his last season for the club, and almost achieving one of the top 4 positions in the Serie A, failing to do it in the final round of the tournament. In 2008, Palmeiras made a sponsorship agreement with Traffic, a sports marketing agency. The club made some big investments on new players and also in coach Vanderlei Luxemburgo. This new strategy paid off with the 22nd Paulista Championship, with a 5-0 victory over Ponte Preta in the final's second leg. Palmeiras finished 4th in the Campeonato Brasileiro, which qualified them to the 2009 edition of the Copa Libertadores. Allianz Parque. The year of 2008 also marked the beginning of the planning phase for a new stadium for the club, as well as remodeling the social club, to prepare Palmeiras for the club's centenary year in 2014. The planned arena is now Allianz Parque. In 2009, the club reached the quarter-finals of Copa Libertadores, eventually losing to Uruguayan side Nacional on away goals. In the same season, Palmeiras was close to winning the Brazilian league, but political problems inside the club caused internal turmoil and affected on-field performances, and Palmeiras finished the league in the 5th position. From 2010 to 2014, Palmeiras played its home matches in the Municipal Pacaembu Stadium, as the previous home ground Palestra Italia Stadium was demolished to accommodate the club's new arena. It is now the most technological stadium in Brazil. 2012 Copa do Brasil undefeated winners. In 2012, Palmeiras won the Copa do Brasil for the second time, beating Coritiba in the final. The team, led by coach Luiz Felipe Scolari and captained by midfielder Marcos Assunção, was unbeaten in the championship. New relegation and new return to elite. Less than 3 months after winning the Copa do Brasil, Scolari would leave the club that was having poor appearances in the Campeonato Brasileiro. This way, Palmeiras signed with Gilson Kleiner, then coach of Ponte Preta, but the team failed to improve its performances in tournament and was relegated to the Campeonato Brasileiro Serie B, for the second time since 2002 in its history, after a draw against Flamengo on November 18 in round 36 of the 2012 Serie A. In 2013, now under the administration of President Paulo Nobre, elected in the end of 2012, and with a campaign with clear superiority in the Serie B, Palmeiras was promoted back to the first division with 6 games to spare, ensuring participation in the Serie A of 2014, the year of the club's centenary. Palmeiras suffered a setback early on in its 2014 centenary season as head coach Kleiner was sacked, swiftly followed by the departure of striker Alan Kardec and defender Enrique. Argentinian Ricardo Gareca was signed to coach the team after the break for the World Cup in Brazil, but failed to meet expectations and was sacked after a short spell. Dorival Jr. replaced Gareca until the end of the season, as the club was fighting against relegation, with first goalkeeper Fernando Praz and midfielder midfielder Jorge Valdivia, both returning from injury. The players led Palmeiras throughout the second turn as the club managed to avoid relegation and finished the league in the 16th position. 2015 reformulation and Copa do Brasil title. 2015 saw Palmeiras make a big reformulation in the whole club, with the arrival of a new coach and a new football director. The club signed 25 players in the year, as almost every player from the 2014 squad was negotiated, and also promoted several new talents from the club's youth teams. Palmeiras also improved its program of associated fans, the Avante, increasing the number to 114,000 associated fans. The new season was also Palmeiras' first one playing in the newly built home arena, the Allianz Parque, that seats 43,713 fans and consists of fully covered spectator seating, and was inaugurated in November 19, 2014. Palmeiras reached the Campeonato Paulista finals, which they lost on penalties to rivals Santos. On June 9, 2015, head coach Oswaldo de Oliveira was sacked by Palmeiras due to a slow start during the Campeonato Brasileiro. On June 10, 2015, Palmeiras reached an agreement with Marcelo Oliveira, recently sacked from Cruzeiro and Brazilian champion of 2013 and 2014. Palmeiras won the Copa do Brasil for a third time on December 2, 2015. After a 1-0 loss to Santos in the finals' first match, the players were received at the stadium by more than 40,000 supporters, as they all watched the second match outside the stadium while thousands were inside the stadium. Palmeiras won the second match 2-1. Both goals were scored by Dudu, and secured the trophy on penalties at Allianz Parque, with goalkeeper Fernando Praz saving a penalty and converting the last one. With this title, Palmeiras increased its supremacy as Brazil's greatest champion, with 11 national titles, being 8 league and 3 Copa do Brasil titles. Also, as champions of the 2015 Copa do Brasil, the club secured a place in the 2016 Copa Libertadores group stage. Facilities: Estadio Palestra Italia. Estadio Palestra Italia was home of Palmeiras from 1917 to 2010. The venue was also known as Parque Antarctica because the area was a park built by the Antarctica Paulista Company in the beginning of the last century, before being acquired by Palmeiras in 1920. In the past, its capacity was listed as 35,000 spectators. However, even though its grandstands were extended in the late 1990s, it held only seats 27,640 people due to regulations which enforce safety and comfort. It was one of the most important Brazilian grounds, considering the amount of decisive and important matches played there. Examples of matches played in Palestra Italia include 1999 Copa Libertadores final, the Copa Mercosur finals of 1998, 1999 and 2000, 1996 Copa do Brasil final and several Campeonato Paulista finals. The last official match played in the stadium was against Grêmio for the Série A on May 22, 2010, and the last match played was a friendly against Boca Juniors on July 9, 2010. Allianz Parque opened in November 2014. Allianz Parque has 43,713 covered seats, being 25,395 lower seats, 14,888 upper seats and 3,430 in the cabins. The stadium was built for multi-purpose events. Many other facilities are in place, including enhanced parking area, VIP area, media center for up to 1,000 media members, 3 restaurant and bar, heliport, etc. The first official game at Allianz Parque was held on November 19, 2014, between Palmeiras and Sport in the Brazilian Série A, when hosts Palmeiras lost to Sport Recife 0-2. The first official goal of the stadium was scored by Ananias. On 14 June 2015, Palmeiras won the first Brasileirão match in Allianz Parque with a 2-1 win over Fluminense. Average home attendances per season. Information not available. One as of 18 January 2016. One source: World Football. Kit. Palmeiras' first kit consisted of green jerseys, white shorts and green socks. Palmeiras' first jersey was green with a horizontal white band, and a red and white Savoy cross as the crest. Palmeiras have played in blue shirts twice as a tribute to the Italian national team. The supporters are also well known for creating the Mancha Verde of fog and smoke when Palmeiras is entering the pitch. From 2007 to 2009, Palmeiras used a third jersey, a light yellow shirt with a dark green shorts and socks. In 2010, Palmeiras, the light yellow jersey, became the second jersey, and started using a blue and white shirt with white shorts for the third jersey. In 2016, Palmeiras announced the extension of the sponsorship agreement with Crefisa and FAM, which will now have exclusivity in the uniform of Palmeiras. The two companies, which are part of the same group controlled by the couple José Roberto Lamacchia and Leila Pereira, will pay Palmeiras around 78 million reais a year, the highest amount ever deposited by a partner in the history of Palmeiras. The uniform will be the most expensive uniform in the Campeonato Brasileiro.